Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. And today I'll be reading a multi-character questionnaire by me. So let's get into it. Kazuha. Kazuha did not expect to see you in this situation, and most of all, not in this state. But if there was anything he knew, it was certainly his fault. He had gotten out and told you where he was going, and he had forgotten to warn you of the treasure hoarders that were waiting to meet him. They had agreed on a duel, and if he was to win that duel, he would get back the stuff. But they found you instead, and they had hurt you. And Kaza was a bit too late, and they had run away. Your body on the floor, and you could see how you were bleeding, while he was trembling, his hands shaking, because it's the second time we see someone close to him. Someone he holds dear, who was so hurt, to the point he didn't even know if you could make it out alive. But all he did, and all he could do was beg you to stay awake, as he carried you in his arms and went to the nearest doctor, hoping that you will be fine and that you will get to hear your voice again. Albedo, this was a little bit silly, but it could have ended way worse. You were trying to help him with something, and eventually, you were kind of getting ahead of yourself. And during this experiment, you ended up spilling something on yourself, and it burned. It burned like hell, and you were screaming. And that's when Albedo scrambled to the room, holding you in his arms and trying to figure out what happened. Thankfully, he was able to calm down the burning feeling in your chest. And that's when you told him what had happened. He sighed, telling you could have died, and that he's grateful he got to you in time, because this could have ended way worse. And at this point, he's just glad that it all happened while he was there. Don't do anything like that again. Please, Oyan. Don't be reckless. You had to promise him, because he was really worried about you. Venti? Well, it was something that was quite severe. The Abyss Order seems to hate Venti for a reason you do not know, and that's why, while you were on your way home one night, you were attacked. And Venti had only heard your cries of help a little bit too late, and only when there was blood coming out of your wounds. Only when you were barely able to stand was he able to get the attacker away from you and hold you in his arms. He flew away with you to the church and asked Barbara for help. And honestly, this was the first time you saw him so fearful. You saw him trembling and saw the way his voice was barely able to get out. And that's when you knew how worried he was and how concerned he was for your sake. And perhaps, just for that reason alone, he kept holding on, not wanting to break his heart. Scaramouche. Scaramouche would panic. It seemed like you got sick, and there wasn't anything you could do. You were having trouble breathing, and you were crying, telling him that you don't want to die, while Scaramouche only held you, trembling, and you could see the panic on his face, the way his hands trembled as he stroked your hair gently, desperately trying to calm you down. But then, he had called for a doctor. And even then, while the doctor came, Scaramouche refused to leave your side, letting you hold on to him and kissing your cheeks, telling you that you'll be fine, that he believes in you, that you won't leave him, because it's too early for that. And though Scaramouche was not usually soft, perhaps this time would be the first one you see him acting like that, because he loves you so much. And if there's anything he knows, it's that he won't be able to go on without you. Tighnari. The Academia was targeting Tighnari, and they had zero idea of that. That's why when they came to your house, and you got attacked by someone they hired, you had no idea for the reason behind this. And You were just left crying in your room, hoping that someone will find out, hoping that someone will come and save you and help you. And all of a sudden, Tighnari stormed into your house, and you could see that he had known of this, because there was no surprise on his face. In fact, he was panicking, carrying you all the way over to his place to treat you, and when you had passed out, you could still hear him. Kind of. He was apologizing a lot, over and over, telling you that this is his fault, that he should have cared more for you, that he should have protected you. But once you wake up, he'll make sure he blames himself no longer, and the two of you will get back at those stupid bastards. Xiao? Xiao is actually such a sweetheart, so if something happens to you, he'll be freaking out and most likely blaming himself, because he knows it just has to do with him. You couldn't be possibly getting into that type of messes that he gets in, so he most likely had to be the reason, and he would fully blame himself for this. That's why, when he sees you almost dying in front of him, all he can think of is how it was his fault. It froze him in place for a while, and you were only saved because of a bright golden light. You went unconscious after seeing that light, and you could only hear snippets of what was happening. But Xiao seemed to thank someone. Someone with a warm voice. Someone who held him close, promising him safety, and promising him love, and telling him that he will be watching over you. Childe did not expect for monsters to start attacking you instead of him. You were both going out, and it seemed like those monsters had come out of nowhere. And Childe was fine with that. He could attack them. He could end them in seconds. But they were coming in hordes, and they were not even trying to attack him. They were targeting you for some reason. And eventually, after attacking one after the other, you had gotten hurt. And Childe looked so pale. He looked like he was trembling too. But maybe it was the haziness of your eyes, or the way the world had blurred in your eyes as you fell to the ground. But what you knew was that Childe picked you up, kissing your forehead as he ran with you, somewhere far away, away from all those monsters, and away from prying guys. He would sanitize your wounds and stitch them back together, apologizing every time you were in apparent pain. Little did you know, after he passed out, Childe had cried, out of guilt and self-hatred, blaming himself for everything that happened to you.